Remember the old statement, good, better, best, never let it rest till your good gets better and your better gets best. Now add tragedy or loss or grief or heartbreak, a broken dream. Then come to me and tell me that you're really good at trying to choose between good, better, or best, or at least mediocre, or even choosing, nah, it's alright. That's been my problem since dealing with loss, and I've always been pretty savvy when it comes to discernment and deciding what's good and what's bad, and figuring out what the right direction is in our life. But I noticed that over the last couple months, even the last year, that I've been kind of gun shy about making decisions and deciding what's good or bad, or what is the right direction, what is a good principle. I've been very gun shy about choosing paths or picking an avenue of life or deciding what is the proper thing to do, and even to the point where I could probably safe to say that I've probably made some decisions that weren't the best. And I wrote this on Facebook this morning just to kind of get some feedback. Good, better, best, or just settle for whatever. I've been there. Too often going through a loss or hurt, but really bad when Chris died. I lost the strength of being able to discern between good and bad, great and horrible, or even just good and best. I lost that discernment of really being able to be choosy. Last night, we were waiting for the fourth born to get out of work, and so we decided to go for a little trip to town. We went and got a little sandwich at Jersey Mike's. Wonderful. It was tasty. And then we decided to go to TJ Maxx and just do some walking around because we had a little bit of time before we had to pick her up from work. And we got on the subject of discernment, and we got on the subject of, have we been doing a good job about choosing what is best for her life, about choosing what's best for her. And I even got to the point where I even broke down in tears a little bit, because I'm like, have I chosen the best path? Have I been a good dad as far as choosing some things in her life that would be usable for her to be better and to have the best chance of success at life? And right there in the middle of TJ Maxx, tears running down my face and just really hurting on the inside, because I realized that some of that discernment was gone. Some of that ability to say no, or that ability to say yes, or that ability to choose a new path or a better path. When we realize that we've lost that discernment, and it's so easy and so subtle that I think far too often we don't understand that we've lost that ability. We've lost that sight. We've lost the judgment. And we've got to get back to the point of training ourselves in that area of life where we're discerning those things that are better and best, those things that are good, those things that are wholesome, those things that are edifying or helpful or building up. It's so easy to lose that judgment and discernment when hardship happens, or pain, or loss, or death in our lives, when we have someone close to us pass away. Most of the time we don't see it. I think many times in my own life I've seen, because of tragedy or loss or brokenness or hurt, that I found myself in places and making decisions that, had I not been in brokenness, had I not been wounded and not healed from that wounding. I'm thinking of a situation quite a few years ago, and I allowed myself to be talked into a situation of a ministry that I knew was not going to be a good long-term decision. And I allowed my wife and I allowed ourselves to be kind of taken advantage of a little bit because we didn't have the safeguard, because that insulation and not isolation, that safeguard, that buffer was gone. And in our brokenness and our hurt, we allowed ourselves to be taken advantage of when we were put in a situation that kind of didn't end very well. And we were taken advantage of in a certain situation, and it was hurt. And it caused deeper pain and problems and issues in our children's lives that, had we had our discernment up and had we had that ability to judge and to choose that which was good and best, we would have never allowed our lives to be wrapped up in that situation. We would have put the brakes on long before it got to that point. And I think if we're not careful, when we go through a wounding, or we go through a hurt, or we go through a trial or a hardship or a loss, our vision and our judgment gets fogged over by grief or bitterness or pain or wounding or grief. If I could just give a little bit of a help today in this recording, is to at least take time to stop and try to get your discernment back. Try to get that ability to choose between good and bad, okay and not so good, being able to choose a right path and not just an okay path, being able to choose that which would be wholesome and good and edifying and building up, as opposed to just existing. And I think we need to be very careful, especially in grief, especially in those deep soul wounds of life, that we understand that our discernment might be broken. So I guess I could just leave you with a question today of, how's your discernment doing? How are you doing on the inside? Are you strong enough? Are you understanding enough to realize that your judgment, your discernment, your ability to see between good and bad, right and wrong, best and just okay? Because you may not have the clarity or be as strong in that area as you think you used to be. Because brokenness does that. It wounds us. And I just want to be an encouragement to you, because you might make a decision. I remember an old preacher used to say, when you're in a time of brokenness, it's not the right time to make life-altering decisions. And let's get that back into practice, that we learn to just put the brakes on and say, whoa. And if your discernment's down, get some counsel. Find a good friend or a pastor or a parent or someone who you love and trust that may see in a different light and be able to help, because your discernment might be broken. And good, better, best. Never let it rest till good gets better, and you better gets best. And if you're broken, you may not be able to see the best. And so that might be something you want to guard against. Hope that was help to you. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.